everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Ramona Oliver. I'm so excited to be here. I am a fighter for justice, just like you. My justice is education justice because I am so honored to work and practically live at the National Education Association. So my work is on behalf of educators and students all across this country. But I know you are all here bringing your own desire for justice, and I'd love to hear about it. Your May Day is about justice. Mine is about justice for students. What is your May Day about? Tell me in the chat. Send us a message right now and let me know what your May Day is going to be about. So we have a fabulous call planned for you. But before we get started, I want to make sure that all my brothers and sisters who are Spanish speakers have the ability to tap into our translation service tonight. So Flavia, would you please walk people through how they can access that?
Yes, thank you so much, Ramona. Um, these are the instructions. I will be speaking in Spanish now. Para activar la interpretación de Zoom, si ustedes desean escuchar en español, por favor hagan clic en el globo terráqueo que dice interpretación abajo a la derecha en su pantalla y elijan el idioma, en este caso español. Si están conectándose a Zoom por un teléfono móvil, por favor toquen los tres puntos que está en la esquina inferior a la derecha. Dice más. Luego toquen interpretación de idiomas y luego opriman español y elijan ahí su idioma. Por último, toquen done o finalizado arriba a la derecha. Si tienen algún inconveniente, por favor, háganoslo saber por el chat. Muchas gracias. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Flavia. And oh my God, this is going by so fast. I can hardly read all of the amazing work that you guys are doing out there. So, it was a month ago that we were in Chicago. And, we came out of that meeting with a really ambitious goal, organize in 100 cities on May Day so that we could show a united front for labor, for immigrants, for working families across this country. Well, folks, in 2 days, we're going to have 1,034 events and counting in 1,266 cities. Oh my God, it just blows the mind how much you guys have done to be able to make this May Day possible. And we're going to show them on May Day that you can't give tax breaks to billionaires on the backs of working people. You can't take it out of our schools and put it into a billionaire's pocket. We're not going to let that happen. That's why we have events all over the country. And this will be the biggest May Day that we have seen in 100 years. And it's all thanks to you and everyone who you've brought together. So we've got new events and new things happening every day. In fact, somebody just handed me a piece of breaking news. The anti-oligarchy tour is coming to Philadelphia. And you know what? Senator Bernie Sanders is going to be there to headline the event. That's my hometown. God, I wish I could be there. But that is just one of thousands of events that are being planned. We are going to show that we can create a united movement, pro-immigrant, pro-Black, anti-racist, that builds the kind of society that we all deserve. May Day is not just one day, though. May Day is going to be mobilizations starting on May 1 and moving into the future. We're going to be coming back to you soon with plans to build strategies moving into next year and the year after and all the way up to 2028. We're going to do trainings and national convenings. So I want you to get pumped for May Day, but I also want you to get pumped for what you're starting here today. We have an opportunity to defend those that our administration, this administration, have been hurting, have been taking away from, have been vilifying. We can stand up for them and create a more just society. We're not going to stand by while judges get jailed, while innocent unionists get deported to El Salvador. So I want you to stay on the whole call because there's fun stuff at the end. I promise you. And we have such great leaders here to speak tonight, but I want to do just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. So I know all of you were planning on being at May Day events, correct? Or you're hosting a May Day event? Yes, let me see your little hearts and loves and thumbs ups. You can make your reactions. There we go. So I want to make sure that if you want to be a partner, we're going to put these links into the chat. Hopefully I can't see the chat, but it will be there. So that if you want to become a partner in May Day, you can be there. If you want a toolkit, if you are hosting an event and you need support, we have a fabulous toolkit that will help you with organizing your May Day event and making it as successful as possible. Or if you just want to show up with like 100 of your friends and come out for one of the May Day events in your community, then go to the website, maydaystrong.org. That is where you're going to get everything that you need to be a huge part of what's going to be happening on Thursday. So if you have questions about events in your area, or if you're a host and you need help, you can email the address that's up on the screen, support@maydaystrong.org. And then please, I'm going to give you one of the hints of things that we want to do at the end of the call. It's going to involve these two hashtags, May Day Strong, hashtag May Day Strong, and hashtag May Day 2025. So those are just some of the tools that we want you to use as we are going on. Now, you don't want to hear me talk anymore. You want to hear the amazing leaders that I'm going to bring on. And the first one is, I have to admit, I'm biased, nearest and dearest to my heart. The leader of the largest labor union in these United States, science teacher from Pennsylvania, and president of the National Education Association. Please welcome President Becky Pringle.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Ramona. I'm looking, I can't, I'm fixated on the chat right now, which is populating with all of the messages and from all over the country. And I'm feeling a little full, honestly, if I be honest with you. You know, people ask me all the time, how you doing? How you doing? I know you're getting the same kind of questions. And I've changed my answer, depending on where I am. And right now, I'm in a community, a beloved community of people who believe, as I do, that we should be fighting for the aspirational goals of this country, fighting for our students, fighting for our democracy. And here you are. Here you are, thousands of you, ready to have already and are ready to take actions for as long as it takes. As Ramona said, my name is Becky Pringle. I'm an 8th grade science teacher, taught middle level learners the wonders of science for 31 years. I am so proud to be the president of the 3 million strong National Education Association. NEA members teach and care for and feed and counsel and drive and nurse our students all over this country in so many ways, and they serve this nation's more than 50 million students. Our members are represented by 14,000 locals, 51 state affiliates, and communities all across this country. I have put out a call to all of them, urging them, every one of them, to participate in Thursday's May Day action. We, of course, are gathered here tonight because we know, and people across the nation, and quite honestly, around the world, we saw that with the Hands Off rally a couple of weeks ago. But we're not alone. And we're joining in solidarity. And we're saying together that President Trump and his billionaire, greedy privateer friends are trying to create a race to the bottom. On wages, a race to the bottom. On benefits, a race to the bottom. On dignity itself. We are fighting back, and this is real important. This is really important. We can't just fight against, we have to fight for. So I always say we're fighting back against but we're also fighting forward. We are preparing to play offense for as long as it takes to promote and to protect and to strengthen public education. And let me be clear, this May Day isn't just one day of action. It is the start of an ongoing movement to win schools and communities that we all deserve, to win a country that values families more than billionaire fortunes, a country that puts high quality public schools ahead of private profits, a country that understands healthcare is more important than hedge funds. We are fighting for a country that will protect everyone who calls this nation home. Everyone, whether they are native or newcomer, everyone, no matter the language they speak, what they look like, or where they live. Together, we have planted the seeds. For more than 1,000, you heard Ramona say, we're over 1,000 right now, and we expect many, many more actions on May Day that will take place across this country. And for as long as it takes, we will fight so we can win. For our students, for our workers, for this country. And we will win. And I want to share these words by an educator, a band author. I never speak without putting those words into this space. An activist, Audre Lorde, who with her words reminds us of our collective power. I am deliberate and afraid of nothing. Deliberate and unafraid, determined and unbowed, driven and unapologetic. We will continue to stand against all that is unacceptable, inhumane, or immoral. And we will fight to create the country that we all deserve, and that our students, our children, our babies are depending on us to fight for, so we can demonstrate to them that we are worthy. We are worthy of the future we are fighting to create. Ramona?
Oh, the hearts are just out of control, Becky. That was amazing. Thank you so much. There are almost 2,000 people on this call tonight. There is a person behind every one of those hearts going up. And I want to encourage you, if you have questions, there is a Q&A box. There is a bunch of great volunteers and staff behind the scenes right now, ready to answer your questions, ready to help you find your events, do your events. So get into that Q&A box. That way we can share it with everybody. Don't put your questions in the chat. Do you see how fast that thing is moving? And you can also go to maydaystrong.org before the end of the night. I am so proud to introduce my sister in so many ways, a woman who I have held as a role model for so long. Back when I first started in this little town and was just a little youngin' at the DNC. The president of the American Federation of Teachers. Please show some love for Ms. Randi Weingarten.
Oh my. On mute. And it was so great to hear Becky. And it's so great that I am with, I mean, it's so great for me to see all these hearts and to see thousands of people on this call already. And I am in the middle of an airport right now. And I was able to delay my second flight so that I could be with all of you right now. Unfortunately, they're about to board, so I have a couple of minutes. But the reason we are part of the May Day, the International Workers' Day. Becky said so much, and everybody was, thank you for those who said fly safe, and everybody who's on it. There's an inflection point this year, and it's different this year than it's been before. And it is for all sorts of reasons, but let me focus on one, which is we are a nation of immigrants. Some of us, some of our predecessors were here before any of the rest of us. Some of us are native to this land. They haven't been treated very well by the United States of America. Some of us were brought here in bondage. They haven't been treated well. Some of us came from grandparents and grandparents who were escaping poverty and hunger, and were escaping oppression and fascism and kings and autocracy, like my grandparents, just like Governor Pritzker's grandparents, who escaped from the Ukraine because of pogroms where there was certain death. We came to America for a better life. And we, whether we're teachers, whether we're welders, whether we're teamsters, we have an obligation to help people who now are in harm's way because of an administration that doesn't understand its past, or that doesn't understand that immigration makes us stronger. Diversity makes us stronger. Statue of Liberty, give us your tired and your poor. It's made our country stronger. And so we have to be on the streets this May Day for all of our immigrant friends to say, we got you. We're there. We're standing up as people have stood up for us. And that's why over 800 of my locals are involved on May Day, and it's growing more and more by the day. And I really honor those who started and said, this is important. We have to do this. But that is who we are standing up for. Yes, there are all these other issues that are really important. But on this International Day of Solidarity, we are standing up for our immigrant siblings. We are standing up for the child who was deported while she had cancer treatment in this country. We are standing up for Gilmar Abrego Garcia and his family. We are standing up for due process. We are standing up for all of our undocumented children who need an education. We're standing up. That's what we're doing this May Day. Thank you so much.
Randi Weingarten, she's the president of
Thank you
AFT,
so
American Federation of
much,
Teachers.
Randi. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. It is going to be a new day on Washington, which is why it's so apropos that I get to introduce the head of the Sunrise movement, Aru Shiny Ajay. Please come share with your family.
Hey y'all, it's such an honor to speak after Becky and Randi, and such an honor to be with all of you, all 2,000 of you on this call. I believe that history is made by small groups of people who have the courage to take it in their hands. And that's what you're doing right now. That's what you're doing on May Day. So I hope you feel proud of yourselves, and we're going to be in this together. My name is Aru. I'm the executive director of the Sunrise Movement, and we are building a youth army to stop the climate crisis. And we're organizing people this May Day, and not just this May Day, but over and over again for the next several years to win the future that we deserve. Young people have inherited a very broken world. I have never voted in an election that Trump was not running in. I don't know a democracy that wasn't under threat from fascism. I was in elementary school when the financial crisis happened. I haven't known an economy that is an economy of opportunity. I haven't known an economy where I believe that you can get ahead. And above it all, the climate crisis looms for us. Fires burn hotter and longer. Hurricanes hit our homes and our families. Young people aren't growing up with a bright future to look forward to. And that's why we're really angry, because this future didn't just happen. It was built. It was built by oligarchs. It was built by rich billionaires who decided that their bottom line was more important than all of the rest of us put together. And it was built by politicians who decided that they would rather take bribes than actually stand up for the people who elected them. There is a disease that has created Trump and his cronies. And if we are going to stop the fascism that is plaguing this country, we need to cut that disease out right at its root. That's why we're here. That's why we're here for May Day. And that's what it's going to take to actually protect each other, to protect this country, to protect our futures. And that's why in my generation, what I see above else is, yes, People sometimes feel defeated or scared, but above all, people are really ready for big change. This isn't going to just get solved by going back to the way things were 4 years ago or 8 years ago. We need a democracy that actually works for working people. We need a future to look forward to where we have healthy food to eat and clean air and clean water, and where corporations don't run this country, where working people actually run this country, where we run this country. And sometimes talking about such a bold vision can feel hard when we're facing fascism. But I also believe that these things are common sense. They're things that all of us want, things that the majority of Americans want. And crises like this require hope to get through them. They require believing that a better world is possible and that we're able to organize for it. And looking at the last several years of my organizing, that's certainly what I've seen. Young people are the ones who walked out of schools by the millions to demand gun control. They were walked out of schools in the millions to demand climate action, and we won the first climate bill. It is time to be able to do that times 10, so that this time what we're winning is not just one bill, what we're winning is not just one election, not just winning back the House, but reforms to our political system that kick corporate money out of politics, that mean that we can run our country and that we can actually win the future that we deserve. And it's going to be hard. It's going to take more than just voting, more than just one day of action. Those are really important tactics. It's going to take all of us using every power at our disposal, because at the end of the day, everyday people run this country. We run this country, we make things go. And if we decide to actually take away that power, then people in power have to bend to us. That is what we can never let go of. That has been true throughout history. Nonviolent social movements have overthrown dictators. Well, we can overthrow an oligarchy too. That's why I believe in this May Day. It's not just about a one-off day of action where we all got into the streets. It is a warning shot. It is a starter gun for the next 4 years, saying that we're going to show up again and again and again, using nonviolent direct action, using strikes, using every tool at our disposal to actually take back our democracy, to build the country that we deserve. A lot of the time, this stuff feels like a long shot, but something feels really, really clear to me. We don't have a lot of time left to build the planet that we need. We are heading towards 2.7 degrees of warming, which would send us into planetary crisis. We need to decarbonize, to move to green energy, to free energy instead of corporate controlled energy as fast as we can. And that means taking power back from oligarchs and putting it in our hands. And we need to do it as fast as possible. So yes, it's a long shot, but it's just about our only shot. I'm so honored to be in this fight with all of you, and I believe that we can win.
Aru, I hope you can see all of those hearts and the loves that everybody is sending you tonight. I'm sure there are many, many of your movements and many young people across this country who feel exactly the way you do. You know, our democracy is at stake, and one of my favorite organizations that fights is Popular Democracy. And I am so pleased to introduce Ms. Analia Mejia, the executive director, co-director, of Popular Democracy. Analia.
Thank you so much, Ramona. And really good job saying my name. I know sometimes it gets sticky. I am so grateful to be here with y'all. I want to just say there's no better place to be than amongst educators, right? Like in a moment in which we need to make sense of what's happening in the world, in which we need to articulate very clearly and succinctly to not only ourselves, our family, our neighbors, our community, what better place than to be amongst educators who every single day do the hard work of trying to uplift our communities and to give us some of the most powerful thing, or the most powerful thing that could possibly exist, and that is knowledge and understanding, right? So I want to thank Becky. I want to thank Randi. I want to again tip my hat off because I don't know how these incredible women do it. I also want to share, my brothers and sisters, that, I'm not going to repeat what we already know. We find ourselves having lost a full participatory democracy in our nation. It is sad. We should mourn it, and we should be it should be sobering to us that we are very quickly sliding into what can best be described as a competitive authoritarianism, in which some folks are going to retain a semblance of power or fullness under the law, but many, many, many of us are going to continue to lose key civil liberties, civil rights, and protections that some folks are already losing. There are this example of US children being deported. These are US citizens being denied due process. When we are talking about judges being arrested, what we are witnessing is the imbalance, the destruction of checks and balances in our government. But all is not lost, because the truth is that in these moments, the antidote to this insanity is organizing. The antidote is for all of us. In fact, I'm going to bring it back to teachers. Up until this point, many of us has played the role of student, right? We have studied what is within the Project 2025 threats. We have studied and listened to what is being eroded in our democracy. But now, starting on May Day, we have to transition ourselves to assume the role of teacher, of educator, because it is insufficient for you to turn out on May 1st, although you must, and you will bring other people, because that's why you're here. But we need to transition to educators and start going into our concentric circles of influence and start making sure that more and more people are clear about what is happening in this moment. And there are 4 things that it is imperative that we just get up and put our bodies and our minds in where our morals and values are, and that we must make sure that more and more people understand. The first most important thing, it is critical and important that everyone in our circles, starting on May 1st, before May 1st, and all the way through until we get through this awful presidency, and we shall, have to understand that we must defend and protect truly independent judiciary, truly independent press, and that we must call out every action to curtail it, because those 2 aspects of our society are fundamental in ensuring truth and being able to give people the power they need for self-governance. The second key thing, we're going to need you to play the teacher and ensure that your concentric circle of influence understand, is that there may come a time, it's right around the corner. Midterms are but a handful of months away. I know that feels far, but it's not. And so in order for us to actually protect a fully participatory democracy, we must ensure that we are fighting back, pushing against any curtailment that will come at both the state level and not just through EOs. Stay vigilant, my people, and make sure that you are talking about it. We must name it as it happens. Third is that, frankly, y'all, I don't know about you, at Popular Democracy, we believe in the power of civil disobedience and the importance of non-compliance when the laws or the powerful are moving unjust things. And that may be radical. And I know that may sound like the radical emotions of the youth. Let the gray hair let you know that this is not some radical emotion of the youth. This is a strategy and tactic that, as organized, educated people, we must utilize. We cannot pre-comply. We must remain as non-compliant to injustice as we possibly can, my community, and we must educate ourselves on how to do it. And then the final thing is that you must be an organizer in what we are calling or building as a united pro-democracy alliance. Labor, educators, faith-based community, welders, teachers, librarians, whether it's our children, our grandparents, our neighbors, folks we go to church with, or the folks we pass on the street. Y'all, we are in fact the pro-democracy army that our democracy depends on. And so I'm going to leave you on that, because I could just go on and on about how fired up I am about organizing. But I'm going to hand it back to you, Ramona, because we have some awesome folks that are about to speak next. So thank you, all those who are on here. And I'm assuming right alongside y'all, this, you know, the student shall become the teacher and we will multiply. Thank you, Ramona.
Thank you, Analia. It was fantastic. And you want to brighten your heart, go back through the chat and look at what everybody was saying while you were talking. You know, May Day is going to be about, and has historically been about the power of labor, but it is really about the power of labor and community united to be able to achieve change through the nonviolent, peaceful protests that you will do on Thursday. We can create change by sending every one of your friends to maydaystrong.org. You can create change. So I know you're all good at multitasking. While you're listening to the next fabulous speaker, I want you to invite 10 friends to check out an event in your community. Labor has been a heart of our strength for so many years. So has this union and this fabulous leader. Please welcome the president of IUPAT, the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, Jimmy Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Ramona. It's so exciting to be here just a couple days before May Day, which is the real and only Labor Day for working people in this country, not the one that corporate America tries to get us to observe every September. Look, this May Day, I'm going to have the honor to be with Bernie Sanders in my hometown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And as Ramona said, I'm the luckiest man in the world. I get to serve my membership. I'm a construction union leader now for over 3 years, but I'm a fourth generation member of my union, which means my great grandfather was a charter member of my union. My great grandfather was an immigrant to this country who helped form our unions back in the early 1900s. My great grandfather is Kilmar Abreu Garcia. And this May Day, I'm going to be rallying with the rest of the folks in the labor movement and in the communities that represent the people that built this country, the people, the backbone of this country that have been left behind by both parties in this country. This May Day, we're going to be planning for our independence of both political parties in this country and breaking the working class from the shackles that have been both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, who have done nothing to uplift the working class in this country. This May Day, we will be practicing for what our future is going to look like as a working class. This May Day, we will be preparing our membership for whatever needs to happen, including never taking off a general strike in order to get what the working class in this country needs. This May Day, we are going to be fighting to change the economy, not just live in the economy. This May Day, we're going to be fighting to make sure that all workers in this country have the healthcare system they deserve, have the retirement system they deserve, have access to a labor union to represent them. This May Day, we're going to be fighting once and for all to make sure that we hold politicians accountable to pass the PRO Act. Instead of just telling us that they support labor, show us. This May Day is about working people, period. This May Day is not about making political statements. This May Day is about teachers, construction workers, civil service workers coming together, service workers, us all uniting as a working class, not just in the United States, but across the globe. And we got the power because we have the people. And we have to always remember that. And this May Day is not about allowing Donald Trump to divide us. This May Day is not about trying to find that one issue. This May Day is about setting a future that all workers can unite behind, regardless of the political system that has held us back. This May Day is about freedom of speech that is under attack. This May Day is about the freedom to organize. This May Day is about standing up for all of our immigrant workers that have come to this country looking for a better life and have been treated like shit. This May Day is about showing a future that is better than our past and a future that looks way different than the one that I've grown up in and the one that my children are going to live and work in. Thank you, Ramona.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Look at all those hearts for you. And, my fellow Philadelphian, it was a wonderful message. It's very apt that we have our next speaker coming right after you, Jimmy, because she used to head up organizing for the painters, but now she is the fantastic leader of Organized Power in Numbers. Neidi Dominguez, please come join your family and share.
Yes, it is amazing to be here. I can't believe how many people are still here. I just want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you as an immigrant myself, as someone who lived in this country as an undocumented worker and a labor organizer. It is beautiful to see this home, this political home full of all of you. We're going to look powerful and we're going to look beautiful in the streets on May Day. And I also want to say that that is important to make sure we document, that we tell our friends it's going to happen. We're going to look powerful. We're going to look beautiful. And the last time that I can remember being part of more than 1,000 actions across the country that felt like this, that had this special magic feeling, was after the murder of George Floyd on Juneteenth weekend of 2020. And I want to connect that thread to this moment, because I wouldn't be a good organizer if I didn't use this unique opportunity to be speaking to you to say that it is a false choice, that we have to choose between progressive movement and workers. We are a movement of workers, and we need to be as powerful as we can, enough powerful to go against the billionaires in this government right now. We have to grow, everyone. It is awesome to see almost 2,000 of us in this Zoom. We need to be 100, 1,000 times bigger than this. That is what it's going to take to push back and resist in this moment. We have to make room and welcome more of us, even when we don't agree with them on everything. And I want to repeat that again. We are in a moment where we have to make room for all of us, even when we don't make the same choice and agree on every single thing. The only way that we're going to get there, like Analia said, is by organizing. There's no shortcut, everyone. It takes talking to people, it takes organizing, and that is hard work, and we need more of us to do it. And so for us at Power in Numbers, the mandate on May 2nd is to talk to 10 million poor and working class people in the Sun Belt from May Day to Labor Day. We cannot wait to share more with you about our 10 million campaign. But what I do want to say tonight is that we need to stand together. We need to stand in our power, get ready to win an agenda that chooses workers over billionaires today, tomorrow, every day, and that we need to really sit with May Day as just the beginning. That's just the beginning, everyone. So get your good shoes, get your water. Like Analia said, we need to talk to more of us, our own families. We need to grow our power, and we're gonna win. I do believe that we're going to win, and I have faith in us. Thank you.
Thank you, Neidi. That was fantastic. Now, I want you to put in the chat, tell me how many people did you invite in the last 10 minutes to come out for a May Day event? I want to see those numbers. Vicky, turn that around. I need like 10, 15, something like that. Make sure they've got that website so they can turn out for this. So our next speaker, part of the pain that this country is suffering is coming from an unelected billionaire who shall remain nameless, because I don't even like letting his name pass my lips. And that's why I'm so excited to introduce Ms. Alice Hu from Tesla Takedown. Alice.
Hey everyone, it is so amazing to see that over 200,000 of us have joined the Zoom tonight. And like Ramona said, we don't really want to talk about him, but unfortunately we have to. We know that Elon Musk, boo, we know that he was Trump's biggest donor during his campaign. We know that he gave $250 million to the Trump campaign to buy and now tank the US government. We know that he's gutted federal agencies that protect our food, our health, our air, and our water. We know that he has slashed critical social services. And let's not just keep the impacts to the US, right? We know that people around the world have died and are suffering because of all the sudden cuts to USAID that the world's richest man inflicted on some of the world's poorest communities around the world. So with all of that happening, the Tesla takedown movement has been taking on one of the world's biggest billionaires who is the most responsible for some of the horrors that we're seeing. For over 12 weeks now, hundreds of community members in towns and cities across the US and the world have staged nonviolent protests. We've put on nonviolent demonstrations, we've put on rallies, and we've done that week after week after week. And we're so proud to have played a role in tanking Elon Musk's wealth and his status and his power. We're seeing Tesla stocks nosedive. We're seeing Tesla revenue down 71% compared to last year. That's 71% because of all of us protesting his showrooms, protesting his company week after week after week. And we know that Musk and his crony friend, Donald Trump in the White House, are trying to squash this movement, are trying to paint us as so-called domestic terrorists, which is just absurd. And we know that they're doing that because they're scared and because this is working. So like everybody else that has spoken before me has said, May Day is not just the start of a single day, but it is the start of a movement moment. So after you're done marching in the streets this Thursday, we would love if you could find your nearest Tesla takedown protest to join that Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday. You can find that by going to teslatakedown.com. And that's where you can find your nearest Tesla takedown protest. And if there isn't one yet, you can just easily register one. Just like with May Day, there's an easy-to-use toolkit that will explain everything you need to know about how to host a protest against Elon Musk. We know that mass mobilizations in other countries have been able to stop fascists. They've been able to topple dictatorships. Just this last winter, we saw how in South Korea, there was an attempted coup, but workers, students, teachers, community members came out in the hundreds of thousands to stop that attempted coup from happening. So we know that this is possible in other countries, and we know that it is possible to stop fascism, stop the violence of deportations, stop the horrors of the gutting of the federal agencies and the federal government when people come out onto the streets en masse, when we come out over and over and over again, when we come out hard and we come out strong and we come out united against our common enemies, the billionaire class. When we have the courage and the ambition to fight, we know we can win. They always say that they have, we know that they have the money on their side, right? But as we always say, they might have organized money, but we have organized people. And organized people can beat organized money. We've seen it in other places. We've seen it happen in this country, and we know we can do it again. We know we can win against the billionaires, and we can put the power and the resources back into our communities. So I'm just going to do another pitch. First, go to maydaystrong.org. Find your closest May Day protest happening this Thursday. And if there isn't one yet, start one right now. And then after you do that, another piece of homework, go to teslatakedown.com and find your closest Tesla takedown action. And again, if there isn't one yet, you can start one at your nearest showroom, at your nearest charging station, or even if you can't find any of that, just find your nearest street intersection and you can protest Elon Musk after we protest all the billionaires taking away our power and our resources. So I will pass it back now to Ramona.
Thank you so much, Alice. So I already told you I'm completely biased. I come from 3 generations of old-fashioned Southern school teachers, librarians, and janitors. And I am so excited to bring you my sister from the other side of the country, Kampala Rancifer, the president of the Oakland Education Association, who's going to be telling you what their association is going to be doing on May 1st. Kampala, are you here? Oh, she may not have gotten here yet. Okay, well, we'll come back. Then Dr. Sarr, you thought you had 5 more minutes, but nope. So this is such an important day for particularly organizations that are grassroots community allies working to make change. And a fabulous example of this is the Grassroots Global Justice Alliance and the African Bureau of Immigration and Social Affairs, who is led by the fabulous Dr. Seydi Sarr. Seydi.
Thank you so much. Salam alaikum, everyone. Salam alaikum, everyone. Peace be upon you and peace be with us all together here. My name is Dr. Seydi Sarr. I am calling in from Detroit, Michigan, right? The Motor City. Right? This is also where 63 and 64 happen. This is also where continuously we see Black women, Black organizers, Black mothers continuing to change and to push for change, right? This is also where we are at the border, at the northern border. I know when we talk about border work, when we talk about immigration, we often look at the southern border. But when you are in New York, when you are in Michigan, you know well what it means to be within 100 miles of a border. In the state of Michigan, we know that being at the 100 miles of a border means that undocumented immigrants don't have the right to drive. And we know that driving without a license is a point for you to be deported. So families here are being separated for a traffic violation, which is actually a civil infraction, as well as crossing the southern border. So these things are being named, and I'm naming them because I am from Senegal, been here since 2003. I am a Black migrant. And when you talk about migrant, often the people that look like me are not the ones that are being seen. So I want to name today the fact that immigration is a Black issue. But with GGJ, what we are going to do is that we are going to talk about how we have to care for each other. We know that this May Day is just the start, and it is another start, because we have been standing strong way before election. We have been standing strong at the poll. We have been standing strong with our sisters in the continent. We have been standing strong with our sisters in the Americas. We have been talking about what it takes to create a regenerative economy instead of continuing with where we are right now with capitalism. And we have been calling into the space what we need to do, which is caring for each other. Because we know that whoever is at the head of our states right now is not going to care for us. We know that we are responsible of making sure that we have access to healthcare, that we can buy food, that we can feed our families. We know that we are going to be responsible to ensure that education is right. So yes, to all the educators who are here, we know that repetition, repetition, repetition. So we are going to continue to educate. We are going to teach in our families. We are going to teach our communities. We are going to use languages that we can understand. We are going to use language access. We're going to make sure that we are not only adding chairs, but we are building a longer table. And in this longer table, we are going to ensure that all the values of humanity that we share together that are going to be centered around a care agenda, where we are ensuring that if I don't eat, I have to make sure that my neighbors eat. But if you are eating, you also have to make sure that my family is not being deported. Because here, I stay at home in the mixed status families, and every day, I wonder if my nephew and nieces are going to come home. So today I'm calling you. We're going to go out in 2 days. We're going to be 1 million people outside. Yes, yes, those protests are going to be safe because a lot of people that look like me have decided to stay home. Because when they show up, we know that violence is going to be brought upon us. But after we finish marching, or if we cannot march, please, locally, look at who is organizing. Look at all those smart grassroots organizations. Look at who is get their funding cut off because the federal government cut the fund, and donate your time. Find out who is being hacked and donate your knowledge. Find out who need to write letters and policy and sit down in their living room and do that for them. Find out who need to drive undocumented migrant to work and offer your car for transportation. Find out who needs to go to an ICE checking and go with them to an ICE checking. Donate 2 or 3 hours of your time and sit in a hotline. And do this until we save our democracy. Do this until you know that you and your neighbors and the neighbor of your neighbors are continuously having a smile in their face. Because that's what it's going to take for us to ensure that this democracy that is actually running away from us is being saved by the people. So let us all right now to continue to center that, center care, center your neighbor, give them a smile, ask them what they need, and just do that. Open your door and let them come in. Because that's the only way we are going to ensure that our care agenda is going to stand and that we are going to be able to sustain this movement as we continue to move along. Everybody is needed. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you for being 2,000 strong. Thank you for everybody who spoke before. Organize, 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 organize. Thank you, Ramona.
Thank you, Dr. Sarr. That was beautiful, just beautiful. So I know there are so many working families out here. And I actually saw a note in the chat about how we hadn't mentioned creative professionals. And I think creatives can change the world. I am an artist and a dancer myself. And in the arts, in performance, the place of honor is the last spot. And so today, the place of honor goes to the National Director of the Working Families Party, Maurice Mitchell.
Ramona, thank you so much. The honor is mine. And if people in the chat could give it up to Ramona for holding us down, and for weaving all of our stories together, and for so beautifully being able to MC us and bring us through the night. Thank you so much, Ramona, for your organizing. Thank you so much for your work. And thank you, everybody on the call. My name is Maurice Mitchell. I'm the National Director of the Working Families Party. The Working Families Party is a grassroots, bottom-up political party. And we believe in this crazy idea that in a democracy, the people should govern, not corporations, not billionaires, not the 1%. But in a democracy, the people should govern. How many of you are familiar with the chant, "The people united can never be defeated"? How many can recall that chant? Well, slow it down for a second, because sometimes we just say it because it's rote, but slow it down. The people united can never be defeated. It isn't simply a chant. It is a historical lesson about the power of working people in this country and throughout the world. Not too long ago, people of African descent, our bodies and our labor were stolen in this country. It was through a labor struggle of Black people that we resisted bondage, and we were able to overcome and defeat slavery and emancipated ourselves through that labor struggle. Not too long ago in this country, there were children working in coal mines. There were people who were working themselves to death. There were people working in near subsistence at a time when the wealthy only got wealthier. There was a time where there wasn't a 40-hour workday or a 5-day week. Those were the results of labor struggles. Those were the results of people uniting against the very powerful, against the robber barons, against the corporations, sometimes linked up with the police to knock our heads in, sometimes linked up with the federal government and the state government and the local government. And there were people who said, this is impossible. There is no way. Imagine our enslaved ancestors. There wasn't an apparent way, but we made a way because the people united can never be defeated. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak today because we're up against a mighty opponent. We're up against the power of the oligarchy, the power of concentrated wealth and money, the power of the wealthiest person in the world, the power of the president, and the power of the president trying to use the levers of the federal government against the people. I want to speak plainly by the fact that is intense power. That is intense power. And I might be deterred. My head might be bowed. I might let fear and despair get the best of me if I did not know the historical truth that the people united can never be defeated. That chant doesn't say the people united may often win, or the people united have a chance, or the people united can sometimes beat Goliath. It says the people united can never be defeated. It is prophetic. It is a historical truth. It is scientific because we have the receipts again and again and again. When the people unite against any foe, we can never be defeated. But also, when the people are divided across race, across gender, across ethnicity, across issues, when the people are divided, then oftentimes we always fall folly to the tricks of the 1% and the billionaires and the corporations. So herein is the prophetic truth, but also the challenge of the day. How can we, through our solidarity, not allow them to divide us as working people? Because of course we have differences. Of course we have differences. But how do we not let those differences become wedges against us at a critical juncture in our people's history when we need to be more united as ever? May 1st, May Day. We have two sacred holidays, May Day and Labor Day. They're the most sacred holidays because those are the 2 days for the workers. On May Day, we have an opportunity, a historical obligation, a sacred obligation to unite and not divide, to come together like never before in our lived experience as working people across all divides, united so that we may never, ever be defeated. And this has to be a sustained movement. This must be a sustained movement. This won't be an event. This will be a movement. This is not just a resistance. This is an opposition because oppositions are built to win. And win we will and win we must. This is our duty. This means that everybody on this call cannot be a spectator. We can't simply be spectators. Our jobs are to be agents of change. Do not ask for permission. Do not expect permission. And do not expect saviors. The only ones who could save us is us. The only ones who could save us is us. Remember the dark days of COVID when the hedge fund managers and the bosses and the CEOs were sheltered in place behind the locked doors of their estates. And the workers continued to work. The sanitation workers and the teachers and the healthcare workers and the delivery workers and the restaurant workers continued to work. What did we learn? We learned that if the CEOs and the bosses and the hedge fund managers, if they went on strike today, we would not miss them. We would not miss them for a day, for a week, or a month. But if the sanitation workers went on strike for one day, this country would stop in its tracks. If the nurses went on strike for one day, this country would stop in its tracks. If the teachers went on strike for one day, this country will stop in its tracks. What we learned that we can never forget is that the true power of this economy, of this society, has always and will always rest with the workers and with the teachers. Let's manifest that on May 1st. That is our job. And then afterwards, let's build the mightiest, broadest, most diverse social movement for democracy and for liberation in our nation's history and our people's history. Let's get it done.
Wow, let's hear it for Mo Mitchell. Just dropping some knowledge. I had goosebumps. So that was what an incredible lineup. Please show some love in the chat for all the speakers. My name is Saqib Bhatti. I'm the Executive Director of Bargaining for the Common Good, and I have the unenviable task of trying to wrap us up after Mo. We just heard what all these kick-ass leaders are throwing down on May Day. Now we want to hear from you. So on your phones, computers, tablets, go to menti.com, menti.com, and enter the code 22348580. Can we put that on the screen, please, if we go to the Menti page? So if you go there, we want you to go there and write down who or what you're marching for on May Day, right? So go to menti.com, menti.com, enter the code 22348580, and write down who or what you're marching for on May Day. We'll take just a few seconds to do this. And Alia, can we see the word cloud as the responses start coming in? Thank you. So democracy, immigrants, freedom, human rights. Loving it. Right. Justice. Oh, the screen's too small. Here we go. Okay. Due process, healthcare, right? We're fighting for all these different reasons, right? And each and every one of these reasons behind it, there are real lives that actually matter, right? We're going to be marching for all of these reasons. This May Day, we're going to stand up and tell the billionaire oligarchs that we've had enough. They're disappearing immigrants off the streets and sending them to concentration camps. They're attacking critical programs our families depend on, like Medicaid and Social Security, to line their own pockets. They're coming for our kids' schools and libraries. They're killing Palestinians in Gaza and kidnapping Palestinians at Colombia. They think we're just going to sit there and take it, but they're dead wrong, right? They can't have business as usual while they're lighting fires in our communities. This Thursday, we're going to turn out in one of the largest peacefully coordinated worker-led mobilizations in the history of our country. University of California workers with AFSCME Local 3299 are going on strike this May Day, all up and down the state. The Oakland teachers are going on strike this May Day, right? There'll be no business as usual. We're not going to stop on May 1st, right? We're just getting started. We're going to throw down for the Global Day of Action for Tesla Takedown this Saturday. We're going to meet again next week on May 8th to talk about our next steps, right? So join us for a call on Thursday, May 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern, so we can recap and celebrate this historic mobilization and also chart our path forward, right? We're going to talk about how we can organize in our communities and our workplaces to keep up the pressure on the billionaires and corporate villains. We're going to talk about opportunities for scenario planning and popular education. We're going to talk about future actions and mobilizations. The billionaires need to see that we're not backing down and that the movement against them is only getting bigger and bigger. You can register for the May 8th call at bit.ly/Mayday Debrief. You can sign on to become a Mayday Strong Partner organization at bit.ly/Mayday Partner. Toolkits and press kits for local and national media are available in both English and Spanish at bit.ly/Mayday Toolkit. We have nearly 1,300 actions planned in all 50 states and over 1,000 cities and towns. This is likely the largest number of places in the US marching simultaneously since May Day began in the 1800s. If there isn't an action plan in your community, please sign up to host one. You can do that at maydaystrong.org. There's lots of resources and the toolkits to actually really guide you along the way for how to make it happen. If you haven't yet, you can RSVP for existing events also at maydaystrong.org. And while you're out there on Thursday and over the weekend, we want you to take photos and videos and post them to social media with the two hashtags that Ramona shared earlier, right? Hashtag MaydayStrong and hashtag Mayday 2025. And we're actually going to try this out right now. So everyone, please grab your phones and take a photo of yourself and post it on social media, telling your friends that you're going to be turning out on May Day and asking them to join you. And please use the Mayday Strong and Mayday 2025 hashtags and include the maydaystrong.org link in your post to help spread the word about the actions. Right? There's going to be an ongoing need for a united, pro-immigrant, pro-Black, anti-racist working class politics in this country. Not only will workers and communities stop Trump and the billionaire agenda, we have the power to build a fair and just society. People are mad as hell that Trump is giving the country over to billionaires like venture capitalist Mark Andreessen, who's out there openly saying that the goal is to crash wages. Right? I'm from Chicago. Our governor recently said that it's time to make the rich pay. I agree. It's budget season in state houses all across the country, and there's no time like the present to make billionaires pay. Right? We'll plan on holding follow-up meetings to discuss specifics, including regional organizing trainings at a national convening. We want to encourage local groups to hold an in-person coalition meeting in the next couple of weeks after the actions to keep up the momentum. May 1st is really a structure test. As the authoritarian forces get even stronger and bolder, we're going to have to come together as one all across the country to fight for our rights and our people and to make the billionaires pay. We need to show them that we're Mayday Strong on May 1st. So invite all your friends and neighbors, bring your families, and come make good trouble with us this Thursday. The actions will be peaceful and nonviolent and family-friendly. The past 100 days have really been something else. We've been inundated with attacks. They want to overwhelm us. They want us to feel powerless. The only way forward is for us to come together and fight for a world in which all of us can prosper and thrive. That's what Mayday is all about, and we're so grateful to be building this movement with all of you. Thanks, everyone, and see you in the streets in 2 days. Good night.